So thanks, Steve, for coming along today to talk to us a little bit about what you've experienced over the past few weeks and months with your recovery from the bushfires back in September 2019. It'll be great also to get your insights into what's happening now around the world, and particularly you work throughout the Asia Pacific region on what's happening with the COVID-19 pandemic. So thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, sir. Last year in Australia, we had a very bad bushfire season right across the country. Went for about 6 months, and much of the southern part of the continent was impacted quite severely by an unusually long, extended and intense bushfire season. At the beginning of that period, in early September last year, the first significant piece of tourism infrastructure that was destroyed was our lodge, was Binna Lodge, in the Lamington National Park, which is in the hinterland of the Gold Coast here in Queensland. In that, as that bushfire came through, it also destroyed 11 houses in our local community, in the street where I live, which is near the lodge. And we've been in a recovery process for 9 months now, since the bushfire. And of course, in the last couple of months, that recovery process has been compounded by the COVID issues that we're all facing all over the world now.
So there's obviously some key challenges in that immediate response phase. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of those challenges are?
So we had many immediate issues to worry about in terms of our staff. We had about 60, 70 staff who didn't have a job. We had 4,000 plus forward bookings, and we'd lost all the infrastructure, computers, and there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of media attention that first few weeks. So there are lots of very immediate issues in terms of your staff who are going to lose their job, and they're worried about where their income's going to come from tomorrow. Thousands of forward bookings, consumers trying to get in contact and wonder what happens to their booking. So it's a very intense period, that first month or two after an event like that, where you take out in our case, the core of the business. We were very fortunate that on the day of the fire, I got a phone call from our State Minister for Infrastructure and State Development, the Honourable Cameron Dick, and he offered to set up a cross-government task force to assist us coordinating with government. And that's really important because we're a tourism enterprise inside a protected area. In this case, it's the Lamington National Park, which is World Heritage listed. There's issues to do with local government, state government, federal government, and even international World Heritage standards under UNESCO. So we have a lot of compliance issues to deal with, and those agencies are very interested in what's going on when a big disaster hits. So we had a very complex immediate recovery environment. Also, the geography of the place is quite challenging. There's only one single road access, which is cut into a cliff. And the road, with the fire, the cliff above and below the road was damaged significantly with rock falls and trees. So that road, even 9 months later, is still not open. And that means that our ability to do demolition work and start getting the site ready for customers has been reduced because of lack of access. Gradually, we've been able to get a little bit more access working through the road construction, and that has just started this year. And then no sooner had that started than, of course, COVID hit us. And with the road reconstruction work and other work, we've got over 100 people working there on the site, and that all now has to be a COVID-managed workplace also. So we've had a lot of experience dealing with crisis in the last 9 or 12 months. And hopefully we've had our fair share of it going forward.
So a key challenge for businesses as you move through the crisis and out the other side is communicating with your customers. Tell us a little bit about what you've done at Binna Lodge to communicate with your customers throughout this crisis and through the recovery.
The immediate response on the first day is to take advantage of the communication channels that the public provides, the televisions, the newspapers, the social media. So it was very important that we engaged and managed that carefully, which we did and continue to do. Then we have to get our own internal, especially our online. We lost the phone line, so our phone numbers didn't work. but working with the telecommunications companies so we can get back online to some extent, so we can start using our own social media for the communications that are required. Now, those communications have to be coordinated and centralised. Also, what we did in our case is the one person, the most senior person in the organisation, took control of all the media, so there was a single consistent message. And that had to then be transmitted to the remaining team for their communications with when we could get back online and start to manage it. So that's all a bit intense.
So over the past few months, as you've been in this recovery phase, you've really taken some time to really reflect on the meaning of Binna and what it would look like moving forward. What's your plans in terms of you're using this as an opportunity, obviously, to rebuild Binna and create a new future? It's had a long history and it's got a lot of heritage value and a lot of natural value, but that opportunity to move forward and create a new future for Binna, what's it going to look like for moving forward?
Binna is a place that's in it for the long term. It's a business enterprise that's been around since the early 1930s, going on close to 90 years, and it'll be around for the next 90 odd years. I mean, there's so much emotional connection by so many people to the place that the place will continue. The type of experience that it delivers to people will adjust now. In the early days, the experience was based around pioneer cabins made of beautiful old timber. And this spirit of cabins, accommodation, is very, very difficult to replicate nowadays in a country like Australia. And that's largely to do with building regulations and bushfire regulations and so forth. The cabins that we had were built with the trees all around them. That's not possible anymore under fire regulations. And our built infrastructure has got to be at least 30 metres or 1.5 times the height of a tree away from the tree for bushfire prevention. So that necessarily means the character that was there before, the first visual impact of the cabins, can't be replicated if we decide to go that way. But what we've got to try and do, and we will do, is maintain the history and the legacy attributes of the facility and the destination. But also, we've got to think about the customer in 10, 20 or 30 years. Baby boomers or millennials or Gen Zs, they've been brought up in a different environment, especially the millennials under 35s or 40s. Now they're going to be 60-year-olds in 20 or 25 years' time, and Binna still thinks about that customer in that time. But they're a digital generation. We need to use technology to more efficiently manage the business and the operations, but also for safety issues when people are now walking in the national park. We've always had a strong component with adventure tourism at Binna and educational experiences, especially with team building activities and what motivates people, what risks they take with abseiling or archery or zip lining and bushwalks and many things like that. Those things will continue, but in addition, we're now building Australia's first commercial via ferrata. Now, via ferrata is a very substantial outdoor adventure activity. If you can imagine the Sydney Harbour bridge climb, when you climb over the bridge, but put that on the side of a cliff with harnesses on, that's what we're building there. Now, via ferrata is a product that's very well known in Europe, North America and New Zealand, but not so much here in Australia. So it'll be a signature adventure tourism product for Australia, and certainly for Queensland and the Gold Coast hinterland area. And we'll use that as a beacon for a range of other adventure activities. So Binna as an adventure destination, I think will be new going forward. In terms of our heritage buildings, some of those were retained after the fire. One building in particular, known as Groom's Cottage. It's beautiful old timber log buildings. We'll use that as the heritage heart of the new Binna initially until we work out what we're going to do with that area that was burnt down. And we still have a very good camping ground facilities which survived the fire, and we spent a lot of money already upgrading that. So we'll have the camping facilities at one end of the property. At the other end of the properties, our more upscale sky lodges will be operational. But in the middle range of the product, that's what we lost, the cabins. So we've got to work out how we provide a range of accommodation from camping through to more high quality Sky Lodge level and have some product offering in the middle also.
I really like the way, Steve, you and your team have really turned this disastrous event and sort of turned it around and created some really positive outcomes moving forward, and really thought about the future of Binna moving forward with that. As you reopen, obviously you're in the sort of situation where you're reopening amongst what's happening now with the COVID-19 pandemic. How are you thinking about that, and what sorts of things do you think you'll put in place?
We'll all do things different in the hospitality industry, particularly in relation to more focus on hygiene and cleaning and the way that we provide services to guests. Our business is primarily domestic market business, and most of our business comes within a 2 or 3 hour car drive in southeast Queensland, northern New South Wales. And so as restrictions start to loosen and businesses focus on their immediate markets, that is our market. We're not very exposed to the national market or the international market to some extent with this business.
So Steve, you've been in the tourism industry for many decades now, and you've seen lots of disasters happen, terrorism attacks, natural disasters, cyclones, floods, so forth. What makes COVID-19 really different to these other disasters?
COVID is universal, it's global. It's not like a 9/11 in New York that had ramifications around the world. This one is visible in every country for all populations, and it's long, and there's no end game yet, because until there's a vaccine that can reach billions of people, the world's not safe from COVID-19. And even if it does become safe, there'll be another one. Those countries that seem to have responded best in managing COVID-19 are the ones that have had a similar sort of experience at a lesser scale in the past. So I think of SARS in East Asia back in the early 2000s, and the way that countries like Vietnam have managed that and how they've responded to COVID. They're incredibly successful as a destination managing COVID responses. In our part of the world, in Asia Pacific, we've got some destinations which have handled COVID very, very well. And I think that what will happen is that with the marketplace, where countries, in our case it's Australia, where the Australian government is confident that the source market, let's say Vietnam as an example, has got COVID community transitions under control, they're the sort of markets that will open up for us first. That makes sense.
I think people's underlying love of travel and to get out there and explore new places, new cultures and so forth is sort of innate in us as people. So it'll be quite interesting to see once people have the opportunity to move around again and travel. I think there's going to be strong demand, and we've seen that before. At the end of World War II, there was quite strong demand for travel. Once you've sort of been through a period where it's been quiet, you've been staying at home, it's not been a sort of super exciting time for people. The opportunity to get out and explore again is really strong and quite a big driver of travel.
And we're seeing that here just in the Gold Coast, Brisbane area, southeast Queensland. Last month, when the state government relaxed the ability to travel just for, go out for a weekend within, whatever it was, 150 k's from your house, our part of Lamington National Park was still closed, but on the other side, our friends O'Reilly's side of Lamington National Park, every car park was full in that national park car park for the first few weekends. And it was just people wanted to get out and go for a walk in the forest. And we're gonna expecting the same thing when we open our side of the park at the end of July, early August, that we're going to have a surge of day visitors. And so as a business, we need to make sure that our processes and procedures are in place with car parking and hygiene, but also the commercial opportunity. We're going to sell a lot of coffee, hopefully, and a few beers and so forth. So there's a day trip commercial opportunity that we're going to make sure that we're ready to capitalise on also from this demand that's going to explode. We're expecting it because people have been, just haven't been able to get there for a while.
So they say hope is not a strategy, but strategy is our greatest hope. And I think, Steve, today you've really summed that up nicely for us. I like the way that you've really thought quite strategically about turning this crisis into an opportunity for Binna. And I really appreciate your time for coming in today and sharing all those insights with us.
Thank you.